everyone, and welcome to GLSEN's 2021 Breaking the Silence Rally. My name is Eric Samello. I use he, him pronouns. I'm 17 years old and I'm from Alabama. GLSEN's Day of Silence is a national youth movement highlighting the silencing and erasure of LGBTQ plus people in schools. Over 4 in 5 LGBTQ plus students don't see positive LGBTQ plus representation in their curriculum. Nearly 9 in 10 experience harassment or assault, and almost a third miss school because they feel unsafe or uncomfortable. We'd like to give a huge thanks to all the students, educators, parents, administrators, and community members who are working tirelessly to ensure that schools are safe for LGBTQ plus youth. And we'd also like to thank all of you for being here today. We have some great guests today, including members of our National Student Council, of which I'm a part, Chapter Network, and Educator Advisory Committee, award-winning actor Zachary Quinto, singer, dancer, and social media personality Jojo Siwa, and internationally acclaimed gender nonconforming writer, performer, and public speaker, Alok.
This Friday is the GLSEN Day of Silence, a day for LGBTQ students and allies all around the country to take a vow of silence to protest the harmful effects of harassment and discrimination of LGBTQ people in schools.
And then we break the silence by sharing a story or empowering words.
Today we have Frankie Rodriguez, Nick O'Kay, Esme Silverman, and Freddie Taharka. How are you breaking the silence today, Frankie?
Today, I am breaking the silence by choosing to use my voice and my words to uplift others and encouraging my friends and my family and everyone around me to help combat any type of negativity or bullying and just to help show that we're all in this together.
Love that. It really does take everyone. Thank you for sharing that with us, Frankie. And how about you, Nick?
I'm breaking the silence today by joining LGBTQ plus organizations dedicated to protecting the rights of my peers in my community and beyond.
I love it. Thank you so much for that. Esme, your turn.
Today, I'll be breaking the silence by getting together with friends, listening to some awesome music, and singing into a microphone.
Yes, you gotta rock out with your friends. Freddie?
Today I'm breaking the silence by spreading kindness and telling everyone that no matter who you are valid, loved, and accepted.
Oh, I love that. I want to put that on a poster. Valid, loved, accepted.
And don't forget, we're all in this
together.
Hello, everyone. So to kick off the Breaking the Silence rally, I am very excited to introduce an Emmy-nominated actor, perhaps best known for his performance as Spock in the reboot of the Star Trek movie franchise, and a friend of GLSEN for many years. Please welcome Zachary Quinto.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Eric Esperanza, good to see you. I'm Zach. I go by he, him pronouns, and it is always a real honor to do anything that's associated with GLSEN. So I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. My name is Esperanza. And my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am a freshman from Washington. And the GLSEN Day of Silence is a national student-led demonstration where LGBTQ students and allies all around the country and the world take a vow of silence to protest the harmful effects of silencing and erasure of LGBTQ plus people in schools. This year's theme is My Science, My Story. And can you share your story, how you have navigated your identity and the decision to live your truth open as a visible actor and public figure?
Sure. I would say my story has two parts. One is coming to love and accept myself personally and internally. And then the second part is the decision I made in 2011 to come out publicly as gay. And I would say everybody has to go through their own journey to love and accept themselves. And mine was, I think, pretty much true to the time when I grew up, right? I had a lot of external influences from my family and my church and my society kind of steering me in one direction. And I had to work through a lot of that stuff for myself to come to terms with my own sexual identity, which I did.
Do you have a moment or memory when you felt the most empowered, most yourself?
Well, making that decision and seeing the feedback and the reaction, I remember I had referred to myself as a gay man in an interview that I was doing with New York Magazine as part of a press tour for a movie that I started and produced, actually. And I didn't tell anybody that works for me or that's in my life. I didn't tell anybody that I was going to do that. So I just made that reference to myself as a gay man in that interview, knowing that it would be published. And so on the day that interview came out, I also wrote a piece and put it online, just further explaining my motivations and having an opportunity to tell my story myself. And I remember the feedback, the phone calls, the emails, the text messages that I got from people in my life and strangers from, really all around the world who were so supportive and encouraging. And I felt so seen and valued for a contribution of authenticity, not only to my career, but to the greater good and to the community. And that's something that has motivated me ever since, and something that I really try to keep in mind and stay engaged with in any way that I can.
And now in a kind of slightly diverting way, I just really wanted to know personally. I know you played Siler in Heroes, and that was a while ago.
It was a while ago. An oldie but a goodie, we like to say, Eric.
Oh, nice. It was before my time, but I loved it. Thank you for Netflix. But, so I wanted to know, if you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be? I was going to ask what from the show, but I know Siler had so many, and I don't remember what I did yesterday, so I'm not expecting you to remember all.
Well, I remember that was a definitive time for me, but I would say we were just talking about this the other day because I was reading an article where they said they're actually creating invisibility cloaks. This is really happening in the world. And I've always said that if I could have one superpower, it would be invisibility. I would love the idea of not having to wait in line any longer, just being able to go where I want, unseen and unchecked, and just have the opportunity to move freely about the cabin without any interruptions or intrusions. So I think invisibility would be a fun one.
Do you have any advice or words of encouragement for young folks who participated in the Day of Silence and are watching the breaking of silence now?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think it's an incredibly powerful statement. Our voices are so important. Cultivating an authentic way of communicating and also cultivating a authentic way of listening to other people is incredibly important. And I think that the National Day of Silence encourages that in the participants and also in the people who are affected by the participants. That I think is not to be underestimated. So I think to anybody who's participating, I would say congratulations, thank you. I would say, to pursue your own truth and to learn how to communicate that truth effectively, while at the same time not simply dismissing other people because their truths may be different than yours. I think that's so important, and I think it's so valuable. And I think as we continue to come up against challenges as a community, there is strength in authenticity, and there is strength in interconnected and the ability to interconnect with our peers and our fellows. And I would encourage everybody to do that. But what an incredible what an incredible thing to celebrate that everyone's accomplished today. So congratulations, and I'm glad I could be a part of breaking the silence.
Hi, my name is Emily Shore-Lesnick. I use she and hers pronouns, and I also go by my initials, ESL, and I work in Seattle, Washington on unceded Duwamish land. My message for queer and trans young people is that we hear you, we see you, we need your voices, and we will not stop speaking up for you. You are beautiful and powerful and loved beyond imagination.
Alok is an internationally acclaimed gender nonconforming writer, performer, and public speaker. As a mixed media artist, Alok's work explores themes of trauma, belonging, and the human condition. They are the author of Femme Public and Beyond the Gender Binary, which came out just this last year. They're the creator of #DegenderFashion, a movement to degender fashion and beauty industries, and have been honored as one of NBC's Pride 50, Out Magazine's Out 100, and Business Insider's 25 Doers. They're currently an artist in residence at the Annette von Drost Foundation Center for Literature and a contributing editor to The White Review. Please welcome Alok Vaid Menon.
Hi, everyone.
My name is Suraj. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a member of this year's GLSEN National Student Council. I live in Johns Creek, Georgia, which is located on Yuchi, Muskogee, and Cherokee land. And Nick, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yep, my name is Nick. As I stated before, I use he, they pronouns. I'm a Black queer abolitionist and organizer out of Maryland, and I'm also a National Student Council member. So thank you all so much for joining us today for this discussion about queer identity, activism, storytelling, and self-care. Alok, you recently published a book titled Beyond the Gender Binary, and in it you say, "This book is dedicated to everyone who has ever been made to feel like they were too much or never enough." So can you tell us a little more about the book and the impact you hope it has?
So I wrote this book because 2021 and 2020 have some of the highest rates of anti-trans discrimination. And what I found is that a lot of people support trans people, they just don't know how to actually combat transphobia. And what I wanted to highlight in this book was the arguments that are used against us and what can actually be used as a way to challenge them.
So our Day of Silence theme this year is My Silence, My Story. So I know I personally have been thinking a lot about the ways that we can use stories to express our identities and to support causes that are important to us. Because just like thinking back to middle school, for example, I read a bunch of like queer YA lit in like 7th and 8th grade. And I know that helped me embrace my identity, as well as things like The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri helped me embrace my cultural identity as well. So I've seen the ways that stories can really be useful, especially hearing other stories. They really like do a lot of different things. They can help you embrace your identity or step into someone else's shoes that you have no idea what their life is like, but just for a few chapters or an hour or two, you can step into their life and try to see something that you never otherwise would have seen. So stories are extremely powerful. And how do you see, I guess, stories being used to either express identities or support causes that are important?
Yeah, I think that it's really important to understand that there are stories that are being written about us, but not actually consulting us. And so much of what we're up against as LGBTQ people, but especially as LGBTQ people of color, is that people engage with tropes that were created about us and not our actual reality and truth. And that's why we have to tell our own stories, because we're up against hundreds of years of calcified propaganda that circulates as fact. For example, and I'm sure you understand this, as LGBTQ South Asians in this country, oftentimes we hear the idea that this is something American or white or Western, and that where we're from, this would not be the case. And that's not true, but it's a story that's told specifically to justify and sanction our discrimination. And that's why I think storytelling is so important, because it's a way of countering these false lies and actually foregrounding our lived realities.
On a slightly more serious note, I guess. Recently, we've seen a wave of transphobic legislation sweep across the country, which the worst we've seen in a while. Why do you think this is happening, and what advice do you have for folks to take action?
Yes. So one of the things that I think is really important for young people to understand is LGBTQ history. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that in our schools, we're often not included. So we have to find this information ourselves. But one of the things that we learn historically in this country was that LGBTQ people get scapegoated during times of political unrest in this country. So an example of this is something called the Lavender Scare, which happened in the 1950s during the Red Scare, where a lot of gay, trans, and lesbian people were fired from federal employment under this sort of moral crisis that it was gay people who were responsible for the destruction of American values. What we can learn from history is that conservative forces create scapegoats out of some of the most powerless and vulnerable people as a way to redirect people's legitimate fears and anxieties. So they're more concerned about the fact that we're changing our names or our genders and what we look like than they are about economic recession, pollution, climate change, mass incarceration. So that's why we have to resist this idea that this is a minority issue, because it's actually part of a larger project of distracting from the real issues that matter. So we need people to understand the reason they're coming after trans people is because it's a political cheap shot. They feel like they can get away with it and rally up their base and distract away from the big issues that we're facing, like mass shooting, racial and economic inequality, climate apocalypse. So we need to support trans rights as part of a larger framework of asking, what kind of world do we want to live in? Is it one where in North Carolina, they're trying to legislate literally 10 high school trans athletes outside of athletics? Or a world that actually is thinking about giving public health care that's free and comprehensive during a global pandemic?
So as we close out this conversation, we'd like to leave folks with a reminder that we come from strong and resilient queer and trans ancestors. Taking care of ourselves in this fight for liberation and justice is important. So what's something you do to keep yourself charged?
Sorry, Suraj, were you saying something?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that is really an important question, because we often, as advocates in this space, say that we're advocating for the LGBTQ community, and then we forget that we're part of that community. And advocacy has to belong and begin at yourself. In a world that disrespects us and erases us, we have to dissent and choose to love and celebrate and affirm ourselves. And that's a lesson that I'm only learning now. When I was a youth LGBTQ activist, I burned out because I was just out here pushing, biting, but not actually realizing that things like joy and things like leisure and things like self-celebration and taking a damn good selfie are part of the resistance work, because they actually help you have the stamina and the hope to keep going. So I think for me now, I really believe that the most powerful thing we can do is cultivate our joy. That's what irritates and pisses off so many people, is when you actually don't need their approval and you're not waiting for their permission to be joyous. What cultivating joy looks like for me is I love reading. I've always been a major, major book nerd. And so I just spend hours reading, even if it's not like smart, savvy stuff, if it's just like bad, like teenage fiction, like and me reading like Redwall from growing up. I just love reading so much, and it gives me so much clarity and peace. And then the next thing that I really believe in is cultivating style. And style for me is not the same thing as fashion. Style is really about what is my perception of what is worthy, of what is dignified, is what is beautiful. So sometimes I just put together new looks and I just call over my friends and we play dress up. And that feels so ridiculous, but it also feels so fun. And that's what keeps me going in so many ways. It's just kind of playing around. And then I think the third thing is really the power of LGBTQ friendship. One of the things that really makes me sad is we often emulate what straight society has taught us love should be, rather than recognizing the profound love that we have as a queer and trans community. We come from a profound legacy of people who cared for one another when their families of origin couldn't. And the joy of being queer and trans is to build your own family of choice. And that was really hard, I think, for my Indian community and family to understand, because we came from such an intense family unit when I was like, hey, my best friends are my family. And so it's really about developing relationships with other queer and trans people who actually can understand the kind of trauma that you're going through, can validate you, and can remind you that you're part of a larger movement and family.
So I was wondering, on your Instagram, you often respond to these comments that are often very mean or transphobic or queerphobic, and you take the time to write out messages of empathy and, like, especially in a time where a lot of people dismiss comment sections, especially as places where change can actually occur. Why did you, was there something that originally sparked that, or was there a reason that you decided to put like time and energy into responding to those comments?
Yeah, sure. You know, I think that there's this mistaken idea that there are transgender issues, but what I'm trying to challenge in my career is that there are no such thing as transgender issues. There are issues that non-trans people have with themselves that they're taking out on us. So it's not actually that I need to be empowered as a trans person. Me accepting my gender and living my truth was my empowerment. It's actually the people who are spending so much money, time, and energy pressed about someone else's life. Those are the people that really need help and love and mercy. Mm-hmm. And so what I began to realize is I'm blessed to be accepting who I am. And that doesn't mean that I have to police anyone else's gender or sexuality. The desire to regulate and police other people's identity comes from insecurity. And so what I realized is that in my own life, when I was a teenager, I had so much internalized homophobia and transphobia. And then now I have zero. I just don't care. And I'm like, the fact that I could grow and transform so much means that I think that all these bigots can grow and transform too. And the way that I transformed and grew was actually by love, mercy, and compassion. And so my hope is that by actually templating that, like, love, mercy, and compassion can mobilize people to fundamentally change their lives, because that's what happened for me. And I think that's a story we often don't say as an LGBTQ community. We pretend that we've always known everything about being LGBTQ and always been like advocates and getting gender justice. But as I write about in my book, when I first came out as a teenager, I said, I'm not like those gay people. I'm masculine, right? I'm normal. And I was putting down members of my own community as a way to get ahead. And now I realize that came from insecurity. So what if we actually realized that a lot of the people who are doing this bigotry to us are insecure, and this actually has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with their own demons.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much wisdom wrapped up in that. I think that's it, unless Nick, you have anything else? Cool. In that case, thank you all so much for joining us today. This has been an amazing conversation. We'll also be giving away copies of Alok's book, Beyond the Gender Binary, to 50 lucky students. All you have to do to win is register for the Day of Silence. If you registered ahead of time, you're all set, but if not, there's still time. Go to glisten.org/Day of Silence today and click the pink register button to join. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hi, my name is E. Smith. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm currently located in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and occupying Massachusetts and Pawtucket land. I'm here today to talk about the National Student Council, which is a GLSEN-sponsored youth leadership and engagement program open to all youth currently enrolled in high school in the United States. Members of the National Student Council dedicate their time, passion, and commitment to the Safer Schools mission, while also elevating the voices of marginalized groups within the LGBTQ+ community. Students receive a monthly stipend while on the council, and when it is safe to travel, they will have all travel expenses covered by GLSEN. Applications for the 2021-2022 National Student Council are open until Monday, April 26th. If you will be enrolled in high school in the coming school year, you are eligible to apply. Go to glisten.org/NSC to learn more.
Hey everyone, it's me, Jaden again. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a senior from California. We're here at GLSEN's Breaking the Silence rally with a very special guest, a multi-talented artist with a social media platform of over 300 views. One of 2020's 100 most influential people in the world. She definitely broke her silence this year. Please welcome JoJo Siwa.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here with all of you.
Hi, JoJo. Thank you so much for kicking it with us tonight. My name's Bree. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a junior from New Jersey. Would you mind sharing your pronouns with us?
I am a she, her.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for being here and congrats on your People magazine cover. My name is Esperanza. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a freshman from Washington. And tonight we have some questions from young folks. From around the world country. But first, we have some quick fire questions for you.
I love quick fire.
And I will be kicking us off for these quick fire questions. I'm Esme, she, her pronouns, high school senior from Massachusetts. JoJo, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, let's do this. Question number 1 is, would you rather have fish for hands or fish for feet?
Fish for feet, because I already don't like feet, so I feel like just keep it on like, I like my hands. My old people hands, as my girlfriend calls them.
Love it. And I guess I'm doing the second question also. What is the first concert that you ever attended?
The first concert that I ever attended, I think, was Hannah Montana Live. And then I think Justin Bieber came after that. So Hannah Montana Live.
Good choice.
Or the Wiggles. The Wiggles came before Hannah Montana, but
I'm jealous. I wish I got to go to a Hannah Montana concert.
Oh,
question number 3 is, are you superstitious?
In a way and in a not way, you know?
Yeah. I get you. Question number 4 is, what's your astrological sign?
I was about to say I'm a zodiac, but that's what it means. I'm a Taurus. There we go.
Taurus. I love Tauruses. Awesome.
There you go.
Awesome. For the 5th question, what is your favorite thing in your house?
My favorite thing in my house is my family. I love my family, but I also like, things. I like my piano. I like my room. I like my computer. I like my desk. I like my closet. That's where I'm in my closet, even though I came out of it. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I like my piano.
I love that for you. Your 6th question is, what's your favorite cartoon character?
Ooh, my favorite cartoon character? Probably SpongeBob. I feel like me and SpongeBob would get along.
All right. For your 7th question, is there such thing as too much glitter?
There is no such thing as too much glitter. Never. What's so funny too about glitter is my best friend, my best friend, and my girlfriend both are like, we don't like glitter. And I'm like, both of you do now.
All right. And for your 8th question, did you really get a tooting alpaca?
Did I really get a tooting alpaca? Yes, we did. I mean, it only came to my house for a little bit. But yeah, we had an alpaca over.
That's awesome.
It was pretty fun, I got to admit.
All right, next question is, if you had a boat, what would you name it?
A boat? Oh, I already planned this out. I'm going to have a cruise ship line one day, and it's going to be called Seawa. 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 My last name.
As a pun enthusiast, I have to say this is the best thing I've ever heard.
Perfect. I love that you like it.
I like that name. That's very creative.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next question is, are you a dog person or a cat person?
I'm more of a dog person. I've had dogs my whole life. I've always grown up with dogs, so I'd probably have to say dogs.
Awesome.
That's awesome. For your 11th question, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
My favorite flavor of ice cream, I like Oreo. I like mint chocolate chip. I like anything rainbow. As long as it's colorful, I like it.
All right. And for your last, I think this is, 5.
All good.
Okay. I think this is your last question. What is your pride anthem?
My pride anthem, born, and even just my not pride, my just anthem in life, but obviously it works as a pride anthem, is Born This Way.
Lauren from Albany, New York is asking, were you apprehensive about becoming a visible queer person at such a young age?
You know, I wasn't. I kind of just was like, cool, this is my life. This is what it is. And you know, I wasn't trying to change that about me. Of course, I was like, you know, the world might go into a frenzy over this and I might lose a few people because of this. I was like, but, you know, I'm the happiest that I've ever been. And I never wanted to because I knew my whole life that I wasn't necessarily straight. You know, I always knew that I just kind of would eventually fall in love with somebody. And I never minded if that was a girl or if that was a boy. I always just was like, my human. I was going to be attracted to a person one day. And so whatever that happened to be, I'm down. And so I was like, you know what, one day if I ever fall in love with a girl, then I will, you know, then identify myself, and then I will tell the world and I will come out to the world and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I even said that stuff with my family. I was like, you know, they knew my whole, I might fall in love with a girl, I might fall in love with a boy spiel, but I, you know, figured that one day I'd probably have to be like, hey guys, I have a crush on a girl. And because, you know, that's what you do. Your parents want to know and they love you. And so once I ended up having a crush on a girl, a very, very big crush, more than a crush, once I was in love, then I was like, all right, time to tell everybody, here we go. I always knew that was going to be what was happened, and it happened.
All right. Okay, Adriana, a junior in high school from Mesa, Arizona, is asking, how long did you know you were part of the LGBT community?
I had known my whole life. I really have. I never, though, was like, oh, I'm gay. You know, that never, crossed my mind. And then when I was hanging out with, for the first time in a full year since we met each other, who is now my girlfriend, she asked me, she said, do you have a crush? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, on who? And I was like, I can't tell you because it was on her. And she was like, well, is that a boy or a girl? And she's always known that, she was my best friend. And so she's always known that, no, I'm not 100% straight, but also I've never, had a crush or been in love with a girl before. And so it was the first time that I told her, I was like, it's a girl. And she was like, oh my God, congrats. Who is it? And I was like, I can't tell you. And so, yeah, that.
All right. What has changed for you since you came out?
Honestly, the biggest thing that's changed is just my personal happiness. A lot has changed and a lot has, come from it, but my personal happiness is what has been the biggest change. I just wake up every single day and I'm just so happy with the biggest smile on my face. Also, my phone battery and my phone data, because we are long distance and so we're on FaceTime all the time. I used 50 gigabytes of data somehow this month. Don't know how that's happened. We're literally 14 days into the month. We're going to figure that out. We're going to get that situation fixed.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I'm not going to lie. When you came out, I was really, really excited. It feels like the world has embraced you. And I wish everyone in our community could feel that love when sharing our whole selves, especially when it's people we care about. So for those watching who are worried about coming out for safety reasons, what's some advice or words of encouragement you would have for them?
I knew that the world in a big picture would be okay with me being gay because, the world overrules. But of course, I had the same fear that everyone else in the world coming out has. What about my parents? What about my brother? What about my best friends? Telling my manager, over the phone, everyone was laughing because I was trying to tell her and I couldn't do it. Telling my grandma, we were all like, oh God, here we go. I'm going to be the least favorite grandchild. It was just stressful because you just don't know what people are going to think and you don't want somebody. I think the biggest thing that everyone is kind of afraid of saying is you just don't want somebody to look at you differently because of your sexuality. And you don't want somebody to treat you even just a little bit different or tiptoe around you because of who you love. And so of course I was worried about that. But I knew that if someone didn't like it, then they weren't meant to be in my life, because I could feel how happy this made me, and I could feel that this was the most me I've ever been before. And once I realized that, I was like, I'm okay with telling everybody, because, you know, it's okay. It's who I am. If they're not meant to be in my life, they're not meant to be in my life. And I will say, one of my best friends exited my life at that time for previously saying things to me about the LGBTQ community. And so when I realized what I was going through, I was like, she was already treating me bad. And so I was like, you know what? Once this all comes down, I was like, she's gotta see herself out. And so I handled that situation. And I mean, obviously it's hard. You don't want to see people go away in your life, but it's for the better in the big picture.
That is a really huge decision to make, especially by letting millions of your followers and millions of people from different backgrounds who follow you know that it is absolutely fine to be this way, and you don't even have to put a label on it for it to be okay. It's just okay.
Totally. No, keep going, totally.
My question to you comes from Aiden from Tennessee, and they're asking, what advice would you give to your younger self?
What advice I would give to my younger self is let yourself have a crush on a girl, because it's okay. I always was just like, no, I have a crush on a boy. So I've never had like a crush on a girl before, because I never let myself. But I'm happy that I didn't, because now my girlfriend, who is the most perfect in the entire world, she's been my only crush, and she's been my only human that I've found pretty, and she's been my only human that I've been like, whoa, she's that only one. So it's kind of incredible. I'm kind of happy that I didn't. I also would tell myself to just in a different land besides in like Loveland, I would tell myself to enjoy the ride a little bit more. And what's hard about that is I can also tell myself that right now, but you can't see the good old days until you're out of the good old days. But the good old days are right now. Think about back to when you were little. You're like, oh man, those are the best. Think about last summer. Last summer for you was the best. But you know what you're going to say next summer? That this summer was the best. Remember how we all hated quarantine? We all hated it. We were miserable. Now I know that we're all like, oh, I just want to go back in quarantine for a little bit. Like, you know, so it's a catch-22 with everything.
How do you plan to celebrate your first Pride since you came out?
Oh my gosh, I am so pumped up. I was talking to my girlfriend about this, and she's like, and you'll have your first Pride this year? And I was like, oh yeah, I will. I was like, cool. I don't know, actually. I've gotten a lot of people coming to me. I've got a lot of opportunities to work with a whole bunch of cool people for Pride Month. And, you know, it's just about figuring out exactly what I want to do and exactly what I feel comfortable with. You know, I don't want people to see me and to only see that, you know, I don't know how to explain it. I don't want people to see me and only know me for being gay, if that makes sense. I want people to see me and see that I'm gay, but also see that I'm not letting that change anything about my life.
The final question that we have for you today is, if you could have a conversation with any LGBTQ plus person in history, like this could just be like a 1 hour phone call, or it could be like a 10-minute like little thing where you grab like some tea and then just like talk to them, who would you have it with and why?
Mr. Freddie Mercury. Just happens to work out that he's a part of the LGBTQ community. He was very, very gay and very openly gay. I don't know what he technically identified as, maybe bisexual, maybe gay, maybe queer. But I think Freddie Mercury is the coolest, most inspirational human in the world. And I am so just in awe of everything that he did. And I want to be just like him in the sense of he was unapologetically himself, you know? He's incredible. And his performance and his stage energy was just immaculate. So Mr. Mercury.
I used to look up to him also. I even have like a picture of him back here.
I see him in the back. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Awesome. So JoJo, on behalf of GLSEN and the many beating gay hearts out there, thank you so much for opening up and sharing your story. We really appreciate it. It was
Thank
awesome talking to you.
It was nice to meet you all. Thank you so much.
It was really nice to meet you. Thank you.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Attention, LGBTQ students! Break the silence and share your story by taking the National School Climate Survey. By sharing your experience in school as an LGBTQ person, advocates and policymakers lift up our experiences through the data collected to change policies in schools, school districts, and at the state and federal level. Sharing our stories through this survey has positively impacted millions of LGBTQ students across the country. Take action now and go to glisten.org/survey to take the survey and help create change for more inclusive schools for all students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Freddie, for that announcement. I know for a fact that the data that comes out of that survey has been used to fight against the anti-trans bills in my state of Tennessee in the last month. As a graduating senior, this is my last opportunity to participate in this survey, so I'm going to take it and help impact the lives of LGBTQ plus students after me. Y'all, please take the survey. So hey, my name is Aiden, my pronouns are they, them, and as you already know, I'm a high school senior and National Student Council member from Tennessee. We started today in silence. Across the country, our silence was loud. We took back the silencing and erasure that happens to LGBTQ plus people on a daily basis and participated in this action on our terms. Then we came together to break the silence. Across GLSEN's social platforms, thousands of folks came together to celebrate our identities and right to exist. Students have historically pushed for change, and we will not stop. We have been through so much in this past year. The devastation of this pandemic has hit us in so many different ways, and we are still healing and finding our way through this. The ongoing racial injustice by white supremacy that is seated in the roots of our country's systems, especially those meant to protect, must be stopped. We have learned so many valuable tools for organizing and taking action because of our community members who have been oppressed by these systems. We are here today because of organizing and strategies passed down by those who came before us and those continuing to fight for their lives daily. There will be so many more challenges, and guess what? We are not alone in these battles, and today is proof that we will continue fighting. Thank you for showing up today in whatever capacity you had. Thank you to our special guest tonight for joining in solidarity and sharing your story with us. Get involved with GLSEN year-round and sign up on our website, glisten.org. And this concludes the 2021 Breaking the Silence rally. Goodbye.